Hello everyone, this is Sumit Bose and I am from the Bodhi Academy. Today we are going to explain the chapter Delhi 12th and 15th century. So without any further delay, let's start. So in the previous chapter we have learned about how kingdoms formed, okay, kings and kingdom formed. So many kind of changes took place during that time. So Delhi first became the capital of kingdom under the Tomara Rajputs, okay, who were defeated in the middle of the 12th century by the Chauhans of Ajmer. It was under the Tomaras and Chauhans that Delhi became an important commercial center. Many Jaina merchants lived in the city and constructed several temples, coined minted here called Delhi wall. Okay, this is very important. Coins minted in Delhi were known as Delhi wall. Had a wide circulation. The transformation of Delhi into a capital that controlled vast areas of subcontinents started with the foundation of Delhi Sultanate in the beginning of the 13th century. Take a look at the table 1, okay, and identify 5 dynasties that together made the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, these are the 5 dynasties. The Delhi Sultans built many cities in the area that we know now as Delhi. Okay, look at map 1 and look at Delhi. Delhi, Shri, and Jaharpan. These were the main routes. Jaharpan. These were the rulers of Delhi: Tomaras, Chauhans, Prithviraj Chauhan, early Turkish rulers. Khilji dynasty, Jalaluddin Khilji, Tughlaq dynasty, Muhammad Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, Sayyid dynasty, Qazir Khan, Lodi dynasty, Behlul Lodi. Okay, and then after 1526, the Battle of Panipat happened, the Mughals came. Right. Understanding Delhi under the Sultans. Historians are known as Tariq. Histories are known as Tariq. In Persian, the language of administration under Delhi Sultans. The authors of Tariq were learned men, secretaries, administrators, poets, and courtiers, who both recounted events and advised rulers on the governance, emphasizing the importance of just rule. Keep the following additional details in mind. The authorities of Tariq lived in cities and hardly ever in villages. They often wrote their histories for sultans in the hope of rich rewards. These authors advised rulers on the need of preserves an ideal social order based on birthright and gender distinction. Their ideas were not shared by everybody. In 1236, Sultan Iltutmi's daughter Razia became Sultan. The chronicler of the age, Minhajul Sira, recognized that she was more able and qualified than all her brothers. Okay, but he was not comfortable on having a queen as a ruler. Nor were the nobles happy at her attempts to rule independently. She was removed from the throne in 1240. Closer look administration under the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. So different types of dynasties ruled Delhi in through different types of administrative system. Okay, so look at this is the administration of the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. The consideration of a kingdom as vast as the Delhi Sultanate needed reliable governors and administrators, rather than appointing aristocrats and landed chieftains as governors. The early Delhi Sultans, especially Iltutmish, favored their special slaves purchased for military service called Bandagan in Persian. They were carefully trained to man some of the most important political offices in the kingdom. Since they were totally dependent upon their master, the Sultan could trust and rely upon them. The Khiljis and Tughlaqs continued to use Bandagan and also raised people of humble birth who were often their clients to high political positions. They were appointed as generals and governors. However, this also introduced an element of political instability. Slaves and clients were local to their masters and patrons, but not to their heirs. Sultans had their own servants. As a result, the accession of new monarch often saw conflict between the old and new nobility. The patronage of these humble people of the Delhi Sultans also shocked many elites, and the authors of Persian Tariq criticized the Delhi Sultans for appointing the low and base born to high officials. Okay. Like the earlier sultans, the Khilji and Tughlaq monarchs appointed military commanders as governors of territories of varying sizes. These lands were called Iqta, and their holder was called Iqtidar or Mukti. Very important, this point. Iqtidar, Iqta, and Mukti. The duty of the Muktis was to lead military campaigns and maintain law and order in their Iqtas. In exchange for their military services, the Muktis collected the revenues of their assignments as salary. They also paid their soldiers from these revenues. Control over Muktis was most effective in their office, was not inheritable, and if they were assigned Iqtas for a short period of time before being shifted, these harsh conditions of service were rigorously imposed during the reigns of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. Accountants were appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by the Muktis. Care was taken that the Mukti collected only the taxes prescribed by the state, that he kept required number of soldiers. As the Delhi Sultans brought the hinterland of the cities under their control, they forced the landed chieftains, the Samanta aristocrats, and rich landlords to accept their authority. Under Alauddin Khilji, the state brought the assessment and collection of the land revenue under its own control. The rights of the local chieftains and to levy taxes were cancelled, and they were also forced to pay taxes. The Sultan administrators measured the land and kept careful accounts. Some of the old chieftains and landlords served the Sultanate as revenue collectors. Okay, the main three types of taxes were very important. On cultivation called kharaj, amounting to about 50% of the peasants' produce, on cattle, and on houses. It is important to remember that large parts of the subcontinent remain outside the control of Delhi Sultans. It was difficult to control distant provinces like Bengal from Delhi, and soon after annexing South India, the entire region became independent. Even the Gangetic Plain, there were forested areas that Sultanate forces could not penetrate. Local chieftains established their rules in these regions. Sometimes rulers like Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq could force their control in these areas, but only for a short duration. The Mongols and the Genghis Khan invaded Traxonia in northeast Iran in 1219, and Delhi Sultanate faced their onslaught soon after. Mongol attacks on Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji, and in the early years of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's rule. This forced the rulers to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi, which posed a huge administrative challenge, and the cost was huge. The Sultanate in 15th and 16th centuries. Take a look at table 1 again. You will notice that after the Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526, when Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and the entire South India had independent rulers who established flourishing states and prosperous capitals. This was also the period which saw the emergence of new ruling groups like Afghans and Rajputs. Some of the states established in this period were small and powerful and extremely well administered. Sher Shah Suri started his career as the manager of small territory and his uncle in Bihar, and eventually challenged and defeated the Mughal Emperor Humayun. Sher Shah captured Delhi and established his own dynasty. Although the Sud dynasty ruled only for 15 years, it introduced an administration that borrowed elements from Alauddin Khilji and made them more efficient. Sher Shah's administration became the model followed by the great Emperor Akbar when he consolidated the Mughal Empire. So I hope you all understood the chapter, and for more information or details, please contact the Bodhi Academy.